away the Lucian, taking away the Aurelia, and some standard bans on the opposite side for Misfits in both the Casio and the Aatrox.
Yeah, everything seems to fit right now for what we've seen on patch 9.1. A lot of flex champions being pinched away, a lot of those must-ban champions in the Cassiopeia and the Lucian, save for the Fnatic game where it was a priority pick, but nothing's stepping out too much, and it's always going to be a question of what the priority pick on blue side's going to be. Urgot's the one that steps out or stands out to me right now if it's not taken away in this last ban.
Yeah, 13 seconds and counting to ban that pick away if they don't want to leave it up and available. Pick like Rakan was very successful in the first game of the day, was banned away after the remake.
It almost feels like, you know, Urgot, Aatrox, one flex pick, and then second pick is like Rakan plus jungler.
Was that a missed ban? And the question now is, was that deliberate from the side of Misfits Gaming?
You see him lean forward? Looking at, are you guys okay down there?
Wants to make sure, and I like this. I'm going to assume this is intentional moving forward, and I like this strategy overall then, leaving so many picks available. Because look, if you take Urgot, which you do if you're Rogue, now on the upside is Misfit just go, you know, we saw what that Xin Rakan did in the hands of SK. Maybe we just grab ourselves those proactive kind of picks.
I still think it's fairly safe though that the Urgot's left open. Again, in the LPL, you're seeing almost exclusively up in the top lane. In the LCK, you see Urgot in the mid lane, so it doesn't really give away a lot. Still a very high priority champion. The Akali this high up in priority would be interesting.
Also want to see whose hands it's going to go into.
That makes more sense.
Rakan now locked in. We talked to Vedius a little bit about the preseason. He's talking to pro players. He said that none of them are talking about Rakan. He came in today and he said, they were all trolling me. Rakan is insane. They will pick it every single game. Good looking out, Vedi. Rakan coming in. Now what are they going to opt for here? Do they take the Akali for Febiven? That would be exciting.
I really like Rakan right now in the current meta, especially in the lane phase, and that sounds strange because Rakan really hasn't given a lot to laners unless you're going for the all-in kill pressure, but I feel like the changes to teleport, that your top laner can no longer just use the TP as a zoning factor. He must continue on that clown car ride if he chooses to press the button, and Rakan means that it can always be worth his time most of the time. He can force the engage. He can say, okay, you decided to TP down to this lane and we will force the engage and I will reward you for your time.
And so much has happened now to try to mitigate that. We see the Tom Kench locked in, trying to shut down some of those engage options from the Rakan, but additionally, the Akali coming out. Now, could potentially see a flex, but most likely going into the hands of Senkux here, and we might see Alpha Senkux. We might see Misfits' first half of Summer Split Senkux right here if he's feeling that confident on the Akali pick.
I don't think we're going to see Alpha Senkux if he's facing Sion and Lissandra. Not that he can't pop off on Akali, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't matter what matchup he gets there, he's probably not going to have any sort of kill pressure just because of the innate tankiness of Sion as well as the frozen tomb of Lissandra.
So Frostgrown, when we look at this draft, I see a ton of engage on the side of Misfits Gaming. So many point and clicks, so many good ways to start a fight. Opposite side, what are Rogue going to do to mitigate this?
They're not going to fight them unless they find early leads on the Akali and they get ahead of that they can start pressuring backline. But right now you have an Akali, you have an Urgot, and you have a Tom Kench. They have all of the tools with the first 3 picks that they can divide and conquer this map. They don't have to fight this wombo combo death ball that Misfits are starting to put together with all of that engage. Now that said, I think meta favors death ball comps, but we'll see what Rogue have planned.
What's the option going to be? Taking the Xayah away from Hansama, Ezreal being banned away from EQ, one of his comfort picks, obviously had a fantastic game. Last split on that champion. See what else they want. EQ historically in favor of more of the utility champions. Was very good on Ziggs when it was the push pressure, was good on Ashe as well, but hasn't always shown us, you know, a higher level of play, but that could change today. It's the Caitlyn will be the final ban from Misfits.
It may actually mean that we get a Sivir that's being pulled out. Again, globally, Sivir's found a lot of priority. She fits with the fact that it's a hard engage meta, or a lot of hard engage champions. Speed them up. The changes to her Q means that she's stronger in team fights because it does consistent damage as it passes through champions. Always has the push priority with her W. I think it's going to be a Sivir game.
It's looking like it probably will be as we check down across, you know, tier lists of what 80 carries are powerful right now. Sivir, definitely one that's been rising in popularity, and with 5 rather already banned away.
The scary thing though is that if you do go down the Sivir rabbit hole, Vayne exists, which is why I like that Hansama immediately turns left. He's like, nah, specialty time, it's Draven.
And if there's one thing that we know about Hansama, it's that when Hansama picks Draven, he is looking to make a statement. You remember, when everyone wanted to play mages in the bot lane, he said, get me that Draven, give Mickey X that Morgana, he will black shield me and he will do nothing else. I am here to kill people. And EQ has to be feeling nervous. He banned away the Callista, he banned away the Xayah, some of these guys who can be aggressive in the early game, but he is going to get his hands on the Varus, and that's still a pretty solid pick.
But a lot of kill pressure, the Rakan, the Draven, Hansama saying, Gorilla, I know you and Prey, you were a low econ bot lane, it was really about hanging back, but we're going to play to win lane. And on the other side, Rogue are like, we're going to play as far away from you guys as possible. We're going to push the wave, and it's going to be PvE.
I love it. Varus Tahm Kench, the ultimate. Yeah, we're not gonna do what you want to do in this lane phase. We're gonna back up.
What's League of Legends?
Take it slow. We're here for the PvE experience on the Rocket. But they do have the Xin. An aggressive jungler demands an aggressive jungler to match. At least that's what might be going through the head of Maxlord. Maxlord Lee Sin, a pick that, you know, I missed in these meta of tank junglers, but now we get to see it here. And with all of this CC across each and every one of his lanes, the setup for him on these ganks is so easy.
I mean, there's kill pressure everywhere, and it feels like for Rogue, we kind of have the divide and conquer composition. For Kikis, he's looking at Syncux, and he's looking at Profit for the early game. He needs to get it going unless Hansama and Gorilla just leave themselves completely exposed in the bot lane by pressing forward or possibly trying to gank when Varus is pushed forward. On the other side, though, it's all about the hard engage. So looking for team fights and very early skirmishing from Misfits, and you're looking for kind of a 1-3-1 or a 1-4, pending if Rogue can get some of these carries like the Akali off the ground.
And we've seen so many aggressive early games across, especially SK, Selfmade stepping up. We've got Kikis and Maxlord, two very top-tier junglers here in the LEC going head-to-head. You have to expect some early action. Literally everything is pointing to it, outside of course, the Varus Tahm Kench. Everything else, though, very much pointing to an active early game. We want to see what these guys are going to go for. We're going to see some creative level ones here, where both these teams are going to play it safe for their first game on stage.
And let's see if we're going to have any more peripheral issues, or if the mouse has been worked out. It was the Lissandra, so he did take your advice, I think.
Have you heard of the caster curse? Are you so confident as to invoke the caster curse in your first LEC cast? Is that what you're looking for?
Feels like home, frankly, on day number 1 for me. Just fitting right in.
I'm just going to take that one and keep going. We'll leave it at that. Misfits Gaming going toe-to-toe, so has Maxlord, Fevin, Hansama, and Gorilla. Many people calling them a super team. Will we see a super performance here in Game 1 as they go toe-to-toe with Rogue? Lineup full of players with very high ceilings. We haven't seen as much of them recently, but today could be the day that they show up, that they make a mark on this league in their first matchup.
I've already seen Titans fall, so I'm not ready to count out Rogue just yet.
And you can't. New team, new lineup. We've seen what new lineups can do. Rogue coming in, taking a lot of that infrastructure, ready to go. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. There is a pause. Frostgarden invoked the caster curse. I don't know what to tell you. It's very powerful. We're a very superstitious lot here. She didn't take the rabbit foot like I told her to take the rabbit foot. She did not throw the salt.
It just didn't seem really appropriate with Misfits being on stage, yo.
That would be caster bias. You're right. All right, so we will keep you guys updated as we get more information. In the meantime, luckily we have a beautiful draft in front of us that we can talk about. A lot of things that I'm interested in. Of course, it's been so long for us since the world's meta. So much has developed even in these first few games today. And really, I want to know, when you look at the meta right now, Frostgarden, we talked so much about jungle mid. We've heard Vedius talk about it earlier today. But you also talk about this kind of other focus that we're starting to see emerge in EU. How are you feeling about the game so far today? What do you think has kind of been emerging stylistically?
It's so funny because every time we open up these conversations, you always say, now don't go too deep. Don't be too micro, too analytical about this. And now you're like, now talk to me about the minion changes. That's basically what you set me up for. I
did. I said none of that, but yeah, I said definitely, sure, minion changes. If that's what's compelling, if that's what speaks to you, Frosco, let it free. As an update, keyboard issue. We fixed the mouse, we forgot the keyboard.
You're saying it wasn't my fault.
50-50, you know?
Okay, for me, what's interesting about the meta, or what I'm really seeing, wanting to see how it plays out, are the minion changes, and if it actually did impact specifically side lanes. Now, I've talked to a bunch of different coaches. No one seems to have a consensus. Some people are like, the minions are exactly the same. It picks up a slow push. If you leave your waves off to the side, it'll just turn into this giant minion wave, then it crashes. Maybe it crashes a little bit faster. Other coaches are saying, nah, it's different this time. Now it takes much longer for those pushes and those slow pushes to exist, which means that's less time spent in side lanes, so you can actually spend more time A-ramming in the mid lane or looking for these death ball 5v5s, which it does feel like we're seeing a lot of grouping and 5v5s today.
All right, so let's bring that back to the game at hand, Frostgarden, because Misfits I see the pieces of a Deathball 5v5. I see that Lee Sin Insec. I see that Scion. I see that Lissandra. I see the Draven there and the Rakan, you know? And on the opposite side, you talked about this potential 1-3-1 coming out from Rogue. Do you feel like that their strategy is better with the new minion changes, or is it worse trying to play the 1-3-1?
I mean, theoretically, if you get super far ahead in a lane, like, let's say we had a Fiora in the LCK. If that Fiora just starts taking off and no one can deal with her, with the changes to the minion waves where you get a cannon every single wave past 25 minutes in the game, if Fiora, no one can touch her, then she can just sit there and push down towers so much faster. So I think it does open up flexibility to look for 1-4 styles of play. But it takes so long to get there, and it feels like the games are almost being decided by kind of the 13 to 15 minute mark because we are springboarding so fast. So I guess it's kind of a give or take, or what's really going to be the break point, but so far everything seems up in the air, at least in the LEC.
Very much so. Very different games across the day. Now, of course, getting back into game. Peripheral issue solved. League of Legends. Finally on your screen. Rogue, once again, on the blue side, coming out with the 1-3-1. Misfits on the opposite side with the Death Ball. We know this one. This one's a classic. This one's an EU special. See what they can do with it this time around. Hansama, interesting enough, taking the cleanse. Giving a lot of respect to some of the engaged potential here on the opposite side. Not interested in going down in the early game. Keep those adoration stacks. It's like Draven rule number 1.
Now, what's important here is about how the junglers are going to path, because there is so much kill pressure across virtually every single lane, except for maybe the Varus Tahm Kench lane. Now, of course, that can go where they just continuously push forward, and that opens up the jungler to challenge the other jungle, but it still goes back to Kikis and to Maxlor. And I want to see blood, I want to see action, I want to see dueling. This is a Lee Sin Xin Zhao. If we have another 17-minute snooze fest, I'm going to be pretty pissed off with the LEC.
Look, they're set up to fight, Frostgrun. You can't ask for more. The draft has given us everything we want, and if there's anything that I know about Kikis and Maxlor, is that they will try to fight. Will it be the right decision? That I can't say, but they will do it. They will look for that opportunity.
I like the fact that Maxlor is actually starting on the bottom side of his map and also allowing Hansama and Gorilla to stand in the lane. And what this could do is be very confusing because it's a ghost leash. So you have Soaz saying like, aha, Lee Sin is on the top side of the map. What you going to do? And we'll see how this messes up the pathing for Kikis and opens up possible opportunity for Maxlor to exploit.
And for now, so much health being sacrificed by Soaz. He's trying to extend this trade to get something back. He knows the cooldowns are gone for Urgot, but that fake leash, that hiding that bit of information does cost Soaz a lot of health, but it does mean Maxlor undetected for now.
It can also help out immensely for Hansama and Gorilla. You would expect that the push priority would go to Hikyu and Wadid. It's very hard for Varus, especially when he gets, at least 3 points in his abilities, can use this hail of arrows. And just by being there early means that they can try to persuade some of that push priority for trade priority.
You can hear on stage now calls from this member ready. Look for an engage, potentially.
I think he was spotted
Hansama level 2. Kikis has been spotted out. The red buff is there. They thought the Lee Sin started topside. They fell right into the trap, and now Gorilla's going in. He's looking for the first kill. Kikis burning down. Slowly but surely. Hasn't gotten it yet. First blood. Cashing in, and that's what you want to see if you're a Misfits fan.
And this is the super team off to a super start right there. The fact is that they hid where Lee Sin started. They weren't expecting the jungler to also be there. So what they thought was a 3v2 on Rogue side was a 3v3. Maxlor and Gorilla saved the day.
Kikis thought he was punishing that opportunity there, but no, falling right into the trap of Misfits. And a beautiful, beautiful start for them. 800 gold immediately in the back pocket of this team. And Draven first back, potentially looking at BF sword. That's a pretty terrifying sight.
Oh, hold on.
Senkux goes right back in the shroud, sees Maxlor coming. Maxlor trying to relieve a bit of pressure here in the mid lane as Fevin starts to go
I think Akali's an anti-fun champion. She just is protected so much. Jumps in, jumps in the shroud, never punished, especially on a short lane.
Have you played her? She's very fun to play.
I once got tabbed out with Akali and got a kill anyway. Take another look at this. I thought he might have spotted the ward, but unfortunately didn't get up high enough with the sweeper. He was spotted out, the immediate call for the collapse. I was curious what type of communication or growing pains Misfits might find, but they looked exactly on the same page there, not a second of hesitation.
Yeah, and we look at it now, and this is definitely not the ideal start coming in for Rogue. Kikis is such a huge part of any team's early game success. We saw it on Vitality. He had fantastic stats, fantastic numbers. 9-1, you see that record. Gold difference. Kills plus assists. 4.3 per game. Vitality were a bloody team. Kikis was there for every single kill, just about. And that's difficult when you get put behind as this Zen.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, he's still going to have plenty of opportunity. It's not like his map is ready to go for him. He's waiting for level 6 on the Akali and the Urgot before he has the kill pressure. So Kikis is just going to keep his head down a little bit more, not look for any of those early dueling opportunities against the Lee Sin at this point, and then just start scaling.
Going for the engage, rinse and repeat. Tom Kench says nope, and spits him right back. But sadly, a Draven with a red buff and a Vamp Scepter is basically unkillable without support from the jungler. Luckily, they happen to have a jungler right here.
I said he was going to keep his head down, but that's not down.
And you got to remember, this guy's coming from Vitality. If there was ever a double down team in the LEC, it would be 2018 Vitality. So Kikis trying to find that opportunity, hoping to punish an over-aggressive Draven. And right now, Senkuk's doing quite well in the mid lane. Febiven forced to get out here. Does have the TP to make it back to the lane. Senkux can match if he wants, but Febiven just doing what he can to get pressure. Right now, losing a bit in CS as Maxlor running right down the mid lane, not sure where he wants to go quite yet.
And of course, things are going to get a bit harder as soon as Senkux has access to his ultimate, a lot of lane safety, because you can use it offensively and defensively. I really love that about Akali, how she's just like zipping around, flying everywhere in the lane.
I'm starting to think that you might be sarcastic anytime you say you love anything about Akali.
Oh yeah, I'm all about glass half full.
Mix it up. They'll never know, Frosco. Do you like the champion? Do you not like the champion? It remains a mystery. But Misfits definitely like Infernal Drakes. So they're going to set their sights on that one. This one looks like it might just be a freebie. Very tough to contest the Draven right now. Axes are stacked. There's a level 4 Lee Sin there as well with the red buff. So kind of a freebie at this point in the early game.
Yeah, I think this is a great call because they did it on Febiven's back with his teleport. So he has the buy advantage. He immediately refreshed, has the mana, is back in lane. He says, man, I got complete control of the mid lane. This Akali hasn't backed. If they do want to fight us, we win anyway. Infernal's free.
Absolutely is. And for them, setting themselves up for a late game where they would be happy to death ball, giving themselves additional stats where so many members of their team are going to be looking to buy combat stats. The Lee Sin, the Lissandra, the Draven as well. So won't pay off immediately, but going to be a good long-term investment from the Misfits lineup.
Man, and what should have been kind of a winning bot side of the map, or at least a push priority for Rogue down there, has now completely gone the other way as Maxlor looking for round 3.
Goes down. Doesn't know it's warded.
It doesn't really matter, however,
Yeah,
just because of how strong they are.
And this is the beauty of turret plating. Frostgrind. Hansama gets money no matter what you do. He either kills you or he hits the turret.
They do need to respect a little bit that Senkux does have teleport, which is why I think we saw Febiven cheating towards the bot side just in case maybe something crazy happens that Rogue would pull the trigger and TP, but he's going back mid lane. As soon as they see that this cooldown has been burnt, it's going to get a lot more freedom to Misfits to play very aggressively down here. So the Lissandra ultimate's been unlocked. They're clearly playing around the bottom because they gave Hansama the early start, and this franchise player now has 4 members on the bottom side of his map.
Oh, so many members ready to make a play here if necessary. Maybe try to force a tower. The Akali, though, pushing up in the mid lane, not too scared.
No. Run, Senkux.
Maxlor just going to focus on taking the Raptors. It's a trade back and forth, though. And Frostgrind, when we look at the Misfits lineup, we have to remember why people are considering this a super team. It's so strong across the board. Level 6 comes in for Maxlor. Yeah, he could look to make a play.
Yeah, he was doing Raptors to quickly get level 6, and if Senkux had stayed press forward in the lane, 100% Maxlor was coming over that wall.
But when you look at this lineup, Frostgrind, look, every single member of this team has been at least to a Worlds quarterfinal. And that's insane to think about when you look across the board. And Rogue, on the opposite side, they don't quite have that same level of experience. The good news is they're going toe-to-toe for now, but you have to be nervous when you look at a lineup with that much pedigree.
I mean, it's the experience, and I was very curious what type of iteration of Misfits we were going to get, if they would come out of the gate as strong as they have. So far, looks really good. Only 8 minutes in, though, so don't want to jump too yet.
But
he wants that so badly.
Desperately, they're all trying to force these engages. The good news for Misfits is, while the junglers are free to try to force some action, the bot lane is now winning completely independently. EQ with the level 6, though, will stop some of the aggression for Hansama. He has to be ready with that cleanse to get out of here. In the meantime, Vamp Scepter just so strong right now, and of course enough money to go back and buy a BF sword, continue to push in this lane, continue to dominate the bottom side of the map, and EQ, unfortunately, not really getting to play an interactive game of League of Legends right now, just put on the back foot.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you said, put on the back foot, and with the Vamp Scepter, he can just sit in that lane. This may be an extended trade.
Prophet getting aggressive. The Ignite was used there. Senkux has to be careful. They're going to freeze him up, blocking him in, kicking him back. It does have the shroud, but it's not enough! Don't let him push his buttons, and he just can't do a thing in the mid lane.
And that's the 3rd time that Maxlor has been sitting around that middle lane looking for that type of gank. The nice thing about Lissandra being back in the meta is she works so well with champions like Kha'Zix and like Lee Sin because the burst damage is so high that in the duration of the Frozen Tomb, you can just delete someone from the map.
Good to have all that CC, kick her out. Of course, Sonic Wave makes it pretty easy to follow up.
I will say this, however. It was credit to Syncux that this is the third attempt before he goes down. He's been suspecting this for a while, but it was only going to be a matter of time before Misfits broke this open with that combo.
And as long as we're giving credit to Rogue, got to give some credit to Misfits. Well played, and Maxlore hiding on just that sliver of vision. Nice setup. Syncux baited into that false sense of security. Still, though, not doing too bad in lane. Down the assist, but Lissandro getting closer and closer to the proto belt. He is still quite far away from the gunblade that will make this lane significantly easier with the additional healing.
And at this point, pressure is just on Rogue that they need to break the map somewhere. The mid lane's now a lost cause. It's now going to spill over into the bot lane eventually. Hansama and Gorilla have just been completely pressed forward, just chipping away at Hiku and WD1D. So Rogue need to make the call. Either they send everyone and their mother, throw the kitchen sink down into that bot lane and try to dig Hiku and WD1D out, or they just need to sack the lane and swap their bot towards the top side and just try to trade structures.
And when you look at the Rogue lineup, it feels like the two people you have to trust in are Kikis and WD1D. And WD1D right now put on the back foot, not ideal. But Kikis is here. Maybe this is the time where they can make a difference, where they can try to catch up. These are two very experienced, very talented members of this lineup. Can they make the plays necessary to get them out of this early game deficit?
I mean, you can definitely flirt with the aggression that Hansama and Gorilla are doing and maybe try to set up a trap. The only thing here is this vision that Kikis is clearing out. Misfits have done a good job making sure that all of these control wards are always here. So they're creating a beautiful safety net for Hansama and Gorilla to play so aggressively. That's going to be the third control ward that Kikis is going to come across.
Hansama, though, being forced to cleanse out here.
I'll run.
Caught a little off guard. Syncux, they're just going to point click him down, but here comes the Tom Catch trying to split this play out. Maxlore incredibly low, and they're going to run him right down. Syncux striking back here against the Misfits jungler.
And there's the trap. So it's the Abyssal Voyage that comes through. Kikis hanging around, clearing out all of that vision, and Misfits just getting a little bit too antsy, a little bit too aggro.
And right on demand, we look at Kikis and WD1D. They are there to cover their mid laner as the gank comes in. And Maxlore spending a little bit too much time in the mid lane, starting to get predictable. Rogue ready on the response. Hansama with no cleanse, but Gorilla's not worried. He's going to start the fight. He's going to kick it off. Draven ultimate comes out. Hansama just throwing free autos in. Desperately, they try to save EQ, but WD1D is the man in the line of fire. Hansama cashing in. They might look for one more. Not going to risk tanking the tower. Kikis is on the way. Hansama with no mana, but the TP has now been committed, so as can't, or rather, Lissandro cannot cancel that. It's going to be the full commit here on the bottom side, looking to break down this tower.
Excellent call there from Misfits to just double down on the teleport and to get the most out of this push. With the minion wave coming in, it looks like first tower will fall and they can rotate up into the waiting Infernal.
Second Infernal as well on the snowballing Draven. This is the nightmare scenario for Rogue. How are you going to get that 1-3-1 started if Draven can kill two members of your team at any given moment?
And I thought for a second that, you know, the pressure had been alleviated. Hold on. I believed in the flash smite. It wasn't there, though.
Kikis is a brave man, but I don't think he's not crazy. You know, he's not there yet. The desperation plays.
I've seen some of those plays.
We have, definitely. And when we look back at this one, you can just see the team coming together to make sure that this pick cannot happen in the same way twice.
But I really want people to actually pay attention to what Gorilla and Hansama are going to do. So while all of this action is happening here, I think it's ingenious that Hansama and Gorilla hide their backs here. So backs out of Fog of War and then steps in the brush. Try this in solo queue. This will always work. Everyone's like, they're back in base, I can push this free wave, especially with Rakan, you punish it every time.
You ever wondered how much a catfish is worth?
600 gold?
617.
Oh god.
It's so much money. And this is the thing about the Draven. When you get this pick rolling, it just feels impossible to stop. That's a Bloodthirster and another BF sword.
1230.
This is your solo queue nightmare. We have all been here. We have all played against this Draven and been miserable for the rest of the game. And I gotta feel for Hiku.
You look at your Yasuo, he's like 1-7.
This is not ideal. Of course, not done yet though. Hansama definitely has to be stopped, but the rest of the map not doing too badly.
If Hansama hits anyone though, they explode.
But you said they wanted a 1-3-1. They just avoid. They put three in the lane with Hansama.
I said it was a dividing conquer.
They put three in the lane with Hansama, and you leave the rest of your team to run away. It's going to be difficult. Once again, not possible quite yet, but things are looking fantastic for this Misfits lineup, and it's not necessarily the aggressive bot lane style that we expected when we saw these two names.
Oh, I mean, it started from minute one when they decided to have the Ghost Leash for Maxlore. He was there when Kikis decided to try to gank Hansama and Gorilla, and then from there, it's been bad to worse.
Maxlore is going to leave them, but here comes Syncux. They're going to try to get the follow-up. Maxlore still running for his life. Second charge is going to be there, but Gorilla's not going to let Syncux get any closer. Hansama there as well. excellent disengage coming in from Misfits. So much CC had to go onto Senkux to stop him from using the second charge of his ult.
So beautifully orchestrated right there. And the only thing that Rogue might get out of this is maybe some positioning on the mid lane, but unfortunately, for what they trade in the mid lane by just shoving that in, Febi's now there to catch it. And meanwhile, Soaz just got, I think, 2 free waves to himself, just kicking minions down there, buying his time.
And it's looking good right now. Misfits exactly where they want to be. Almost just extending the lane phase here. Now going to move top, match the 2v2.
And it's the fact that they have those isolated. As long as they continue to stick in this 2v2, Misfits are going to continue to exploit this map. So again, Rogue need to get very creative. Last time it was with the Abyssal Voyage that they set the trap, they had Kikis waiting, they brought on the Tahm Kench, and they managed to pick off the overeager Misfits. But as long as they continue to just match stylistically like this, it's only going to get from bad to worse.
Difficult spot to be. Prophet doing very well in his 1v1, but sadly it just doesn't mean a whole lot. He's been trading well with Soaz going back and forth, but it just isn't amounting to anything. So once again, we are looking at the playmakers on the side of Rogue. We're going to get that ultimate from Wadid, the engage potential from Kikis to get something started. Soaz maybe the one who's caught out here. Movement speed buff from the Starl Crab.
He does have flash.
Let's start to work him down here. It's a Scion though, so we're going to have to bide our time, just wait. And Soaz is just going to walk away. They know if they commit too many resources there, they're going to lose something topside, but does not matter. They're going to lose something in a way. Rift Herald now summoned. Another tower is going to fall for Misfits. We are 15 minutes into the game, and already we have a 3K gold lead. Is going to grow more as the Herald collapses, and also double Infernal. 2 towers now broken. It's a difficult spot to be in.
And they're going to eat up the rest of that jungle as well. You can see that Misfits bang for the buck. Not only do they get the top lane tower, but they also clear out the blue buff. And in response, Kikis doesn't feel confident enough to try to trade blues. He might actually be walking into a trap. Are they going to wait in that brush?
Misfits.
Oh no. No, he knows.
Playing some mind games here. Throwing the Rift Herald down. Kikis thinks he reads play, thinks they're going to rotate to mid, but instead they opt to back off.
I mean, he's got the control ward, and he was very safe coming around the corner of the wolf camp, so Kikis knew what was up.
Which is good patience. You have to find an opportunity at some point, but obviously going too far, going in and giving up anything else isn't going to happen. And now, the biggest issue though is that we're going to have triple Infernal coming in for Misfits. If there was a game where you wanted early game dominance and drag control, I would definitely say it's this one. Triple Infernal. This one's going to spawn soon. 17 minutes when Misfits pick it up. 18 minutes. Exactly what you need.
And it's just so clean and crisp. But hold on, looks like they may be setting up something in the mid lane.
EQ, he's not going to like this one. They're not going to go in, though. They see the Tahm Kench there. They don't want to risk it. Maybe we're hoping to get the Devour out early, but Maxwell's off to the side as well. Now they're going to go in for the engage. He's going to have to use the Glacial Tomb on himself. Backing off, going to use the Proto Belt to make it to safety, and just stopping the aggression in its tracks with the Lissandra ult.
So the mentality here is because Infernal Drake is spawning in 10 seconds, you don't want to use key ultimates before what you know is going to be a fight. Now, even without the Lissandra ultimate available, that's still Hansama with a massive item advantage. So Rogue, while they're kind of between a rock and a hard place, we don't want to give away this triple Infernal. They're forced into a very scary fight that they must play perfectly.
Knockup going to connect. Once again, Hansama, the man you have to watch. If the Draven goes down, they stand a chance of winning this fight. The Dragon, though, in their eyes, is going to go in the favor of Maxlor. Now the engage comes in from Gorilla. He wants to keep this one going. Maxlor's on the backside for Hichu. He's going to shut that 80 carry down with Deed forced away from the rest of his team. And that means that Hansama just gets to tear through this Rogue lineup. Maxlor moving in for a bit more, but it is absolute dominance here from the Misfits.
It is just an absolute steamroll. They have priority and position on the mid lane. The creep wave comes in behind them. Triple Infernal, 2 item advantage on the Draven, and moving down for not 1, but 2 mid lane towers. Everything has cracked open for Misfits.
And once again, triple Infernal. You just have to say it again. Look at the items on this Draven. Look at all that flat AD, getting those multipliers. Hansama hits like a truck, burns through his entire mana pool across that fight, and it just looks so good.
And if G2 were going to be the boogeyman of the LEC, because they just have this raw, stacked talent in every single position, for me, Misfits were going to be the 3,000 IQ team. Between Gorilla, between Soaz, between Maxlor, they have so many abilities to make incredible macro calls, and it has been so clean this entire game.
You can see how this replay plays out. Beautiful across the board. This replay brought to you by Alienware, and it's just so clean. The bot lane from Rogue forced away by just Maxlor on his own, and you leave that Draven on his lonesome, you force Senkux away, and the team just gets torn to pieces.
And a big part of that was the vision control. The fact that Misfits, again, they had their back timed. They were there right before the Dragon spawned. They had moved their control wards in. It just looks like a dance almost. No wasted effort, no wasted momentum. Everything's exactly where it needs to be.
Sadly, Rogue don't know the moves to the dance right now. That's what it's starting to feel like. I was optimistic earlier. I said, hey, there are opportunities, there are chances for them to come back, but when you are staring down a 6K gold lead and Triple Infernal and a Draven who has an 800 gold bounty. Man, bounties are crazy in this game right now. It feels nigh impossible at this point for them to come back. They are going to need a massive misstep from almost specifically Hans Sama if they want to find an edge back in.
But it means that they just need to play around their side lanes. Make use of the mobility that you have with the Abyssal Voyage. Use the Akali and try to see if you can find a pick. It's not the pick that you're looking for.
Senkux? He does not have the damage to fight Soaz right now. That's not good. Senkux is, the tower is less frightening than Soaz right now, which you can respect.
That moment when Soaz turns away and says, "You're not worth the gold."
Absolute nightmare material right there. For Misfits, once again, they got everything they wanted in the draft phase. It would appear the dominant lanes, everything now paying off. They've been, they're going to have to buy a little bit of time as Prophet tries to get something done. EULCS on the way. Is going to get locked up before he can use the Glacial Path. Now will be taken down. Not enough as the shutdown goes in on Alessandro Grill, looking for the re-engage. Hans Sama remains untouched, but he's left on his lonesome. The lifesteal is there for a brief moment. Senkux needs to make it to safety. Gorilla going to drop on the backside. Burning down as Kikis finally manages to find a kill. An absolute bloodbath. Prophet runs for his life. One member of Rogue down to the two members of Misfits, and that is the best you could hope for.
Yeah, best case scenario for Rogue, and that's what we want to see. You want to see the Abyssal Voyage make use of the high mobility and start picking out members in those side lanes. That said, still a win for Misfits because they end up with the tower, and that's really just the gold lead speaking for itself. So while Fevy was out of position, did ultimately go down, gave a shutdown bonus, but the rest of Misfits were there to pounce and make use of something.
Oh, and Frostgurren, you gotta praise him for finding this engage, for finding this opportunity, for chaining the CC so that Fevin could not use the path to get out. But at the end of the day, you can't lose when you're this far behind in trades.
And you can see why Febby thought that he was safe there. He does have a control ward off to his side, as well as one, I believe, placed around the blue and the wolf camp. So he did have the appropriate vision, just wasn't giving respect to the fact that he didn't have Tom Kinch on the map. The Abyssal Voyage came through. And like I said, he's probably looking at his team like, it's all right, guys. We got exactly what we came for anyway.
And the tier 2 tower dropping, I think we're looking at Baron for Misfits, potentially the key to end the game immediately, although, honestly, another single teamfight win and they could just break the base open. It's the luxury of having this gold lead is it makes it a lot easier to close out. I think Rogue are honestly at this point hoping that Misfits, go for the Baron, make a sloppy setup, and give Rogue the opportunity to punish.
But the fact of the matter is that in the current minion, as well as, although I'll hold this point for a second, round 2,
both here.
His team's not close enough to save him this time, or kind of...
The path is here, and the flash is available for Thevin as well. This should be an easy escape. They're hoping to bait in a little bit more. They don't know the second member is on the top side of the map, but Misfits are taking control of mid lane and could, in theory, start to pressure this tower.
I think he senses it.
The pings are coming out. You feel like Thevin has... I think he thinks he can take this 1v1.
I mean, he's got a very deep ward down into the lane. I'm unclear if it actually spotted Kikis as he was walking up.
This is the long con.
It just expired, but he has so many wards to make sure that this stops happening, and Febby is actually eating up so much time from Rogue.
Oh, immediately going to go in for the knock-up. Is he... Oh, still manages to make it out. Minor fumble, but Senkux on the hunt. Wants to make his way in, does jump right back in. Shroud does go down. Ulti now coming out as Senkux needs to get out of safety. He doesn't have any escape rest left. Oh, God! That is the Draven damage you never want to see. One shot, one kill. Hans Sama makes it look easy.
He was shrapnel. He got hit once. Woo! That was spicy meatball.
In case anyone who has ever watched European League of Legends forgot, Hans Sama is a monster on Draven.
I mean, Hans Sama is a good Draven player, but I'm just going to say, if he's 5-0-1 with a 3-item advantage right now, I think I could do that.
That's like saying all the montages where someone has 17 kills and then kills 3 people aren't cool, Frostgurren.
I'm just saying, he walked up and he honored him. It was cool.
It's powerful. And now with the Baron backing him up, Misfits very much in position to win the game. Options all but gone for Rogue. You see 1.3K stopping Misfits from being at a 10K gold lead. 23 minutes into the game, Triple Infernal and a Mountain as well.
I'm really feeling this Hans Sama escort here, holding hands with Rakan and Sion as he's just led through a stroll through the jungle.
They're playing Mr. President right now. Hans Sama is Mr. President. We got the Secret Service surrounding him. As long as the President lives, everybody's happy. Except for Rogue. Rogue will be dead if the President lives. It's a rough path.
Oh, now with the Baron, And with closer to 25 minutes, it's going to get that much easier for Misfits to end the game. I was going to say that with this type of lead in at 25 minutes with every cannon being spawned per wave, they probably wouldn't need Baron.
Oh, denying the engage on a Feb event. Here comes the Scion off to the side. So I was looking for a way in.
Zen.
Gonna get the one in. Two-man knockup. Now Maxwell trying to make his way to safety. Gets the kickback. Hits multiple members. Gorilla with the chain CC. It's clean. It's pretty. It's what you want to see. And Hansama here to clean them up. All too easy for the Fed Draven. Gorilla's even feeling a little bit more. Ooh, forcing out stopwatch, buys a bit of time, but the knockup not quite perfectly timed. Does not matter in the end. Misfits are not playing around in their first game. Cutting through Rogue. 13K, 14K gold lead to end their first game.
8-0-2 on Hansama's Draven. Just threw down the gauntlet in one of the fastest games that we've seen all day. That was games done quick.
Really speed running League of Legends. A few minutes off the best time, but damn, looking so good in that first game. And a lot of people were skeptical. They want to know how this Misfits super team was going to come together, and that was a super first game performance, without a doubt.
Frankly, you see Fnatic start to fumble, crumble in our first game of the day. Now we've got G2 and Origin, the match of the day, coming up next. If Misfits, boom, throw it down. Yeah, heavy favorites here, but did it with style. If Origin and G2 start to stumble, there's a very clear favorite here.
And they play SK tomorrow. And if they beat SK, the SK that beat Fnatic, Misfits, right back to the top of the pecking order.
Rock, paper, scissors, baby. It's exactly how it works.
It just looks too good. Maxwell feeling good, gets to play the Lee Sin, everything working out for them, but we know it was the clever start from Misfits that got this snowball rolling. Brilliant jungle pathing, planned out ahead of time, faking the leash so as giving up life so that he could act his way through that one, saying, oh, he definitely started red. He didn't, folks. He started blue. He went bottom. He killed people.
I had a lot of questions if what type of playstyle that we're going to see, if maybe Gorilla would tame Hansama a little bit, pull him back, but Hansama's like, no. You go Rakan, I'll go Draven, let's go.
I thought for sure when the LCK support comes to the LEC that we would adopt the LCK playstyle. That's years past. It's 2019.
This is the superior playstyle.
Europe's the best now. You come to EU, you make the EU playstyle. You get aggressive.
A fourth place playstyle?
Absolute dream. On the opposite side, Rogue, definitely a rough start. Misfits obviously coming in swinging. Did show some good moments, some good team play there on some of those Wadid, Tom Kench plays, but overall, looks all right.
The shining parts of Rogue were still there. You know, you look at someone like Wadid, who just had that incredible Worlds run. You look at someone like Kikis, who had the incredible Vitality run, and they were still performing. Yes, Kikis got off into a bad start, but I do like the fact that Rogue were like, okay, get this guy an aggressive jungler. It fits in the meta. It fits with his play style. Just unfortunately got a little bit out-thought across the map, but maybe he gets a better start next time, and we see a very different game from Rogue.
Absolutely. We'll see what's going to happen as they move forward. But coming up next game, we've got our match of the day, Origin versus G2 Esports. So be sure to stick around. The first time you're going to see both of these teams, but I mean, we know you want it because we want it too. So let's take a second here to appreciate the beauty that is Hansama on his signature Draven.
I mean, I don't think you can pick anyone else for man of the match, Kia Sport. What do we got? What's it called?
Hansama going in here. I'm gonna hang out the drive.
Kia player of the game.
Kia player of the game. That's all it takes. And I honestly,
it's my first
we can run a player of the game vote, and we will, because public participation is important. But we all know who's winning, guys. We all know. We all know exactly what's gonna happen, because you see Hansama running down, you see how much damage he's doing, and I will admit, Gorilla set a lot of that up. Maxlore set a lot of that up. But at the end of the day, the man who throws the axes deserves the Kia player of the game, or at least that's my opinion. We'll see what you guys got to say, because we've got Hansama, Gorilla, and Hiku competing for that player of the game, Kia player of the game.
I wouldn't mind the support getting some love there. Gorilla had some incredible Rakan engagements. I'm actually really surprised that Maxlore wasn't in the...
You don't understand how this works. If Hansama is on the poll, Hansama wins the poll. The only man Hansama loses to is Reckless, and he's not in this game. So head over to @AllEsports on Twitter and vote. And to get more insight on that win, let's hear from Laura and their mid laner.
Thank you very much, Dracos. Now, Fabian, welcome home. How does it feel to be back in EU?
I mean, it feels really great. Like, I really missed EU. Like, I realized playing in NA for 1 year, I think I maybe had, you know, a really bad year. And yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy that a team in EU wanted me back, and I'm glad I have. I'm really happy that, you know, Misfits got me in the team, because I mean, they're just a great org and they have really good players. So I'm really, really happy working with this team.
That's awesome to learn. Now, did you learn anything about your experience in NA while you were there? You can say no, that's okay.
I mean, yeah, of course, I learned some stuff. Like, I think the thing I focused on the most with my coaches was like vision control for mid lane and just in general. So yeah, I think I heavily improved on my vision game.
Awesome. And now everybody's saying that Misfits won the off-season, that you're building a super team. Many people are expecting so much from you. How does it make you feel?
I mean, it's always tough, you know, like people saying we have a super team. Like we have really good players, you know, on paper, but it all comes down to how hard we practice as a team. Like you can have 5 superstars, you know, but if you don't work together and you don't, you know, help each other, then you won't get anywhere. So it just depends. Like I don't really mind how people rate us, you know. I just want to, you know, get back to the form that I used to play in, and also my team to get towards playoffs and potentially, you know, going to Worlds.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And our last question. Many things changed since you left Europe. I mean, Perks even went to the bot lane. We knew so many new mid laners. What do you think about the mid lane powerhouse in Europe right now?
I mean, the mid laners in EU always has been really good. You know, it's like there's, you know, there was like Expeke and like Frogen and stuff like that, you know, and then you see new boys rising up. And now again, there's another 3 boys rising up. You know, it's like all the young guys are catching up to the old guys, and it's really tough to keep up because they're all really good mechanically, and you know they can be really smart too. You know, with the right team and the right coaching staff. So, I mean, I think for every role, the EU is just really like, you know, skilled.
And this will be a challenge for you maybe this year. Thank you very much for joining me today. And now we are going to take a short break. And when we come back, it's going to be match of the day, Origin versus G2.